thing, right? If we design and spend our money on our home and control our heat loss and heat gain in our home. So if you're building a new home, invest in that building envelope, in that orientation that Jeremy was talking about, because I want to decrease the size of the system we're putting in your home. Okay. What approvals do you need? Check with your municipality. Check with the conservation authority if you're trying to put it in the lake or use the lake water, right? You need to plan, right? We've seen that we might have a big piece of land usage to put that horizontal loop in. So how are we planning our property landscaping wise? Of course, when we're looking at contractors, what references do they have? They require accreditation if you want any of that grant money. And, you know, multiple bids obviously are a good idea. There's some variation in the technologies as well out there. And recognize that you need to have a service contract in place. There are maintenance requirements for your heating and air conditioning system. Typical system, let's put in a high efficiency furnace, $3,600. A hot water tank, because we can do some hot water heating with our ground source heat pump. So we're going to have just a gas-fired hot water tank here at $2,000. I'm going to have central air at $3,000, okay? Cost on our heat pump system, upwards of $10,000 on the equipment side, $16,000 for that loop is what I've used, okay? And our hot water tank cost has gone down because now I no longer have a burner, I just got a heat exchanger on it. Operating costs, though, on the typical system are higher than the ground source. But what's the payback? Huge variables, though, in that ground loop pricing, right? That's very site specific. So it's a little bit hard for me to just throw a case study out and give you a solid number, okay? So what type of system is going to change your costing, right? But recognize that it does have a higher installation cost. That's why the government's willing to give you a large amount of money, right? It's offsetting that. And you need those qualified contractors to get those grants. But also recognize that you're going to have a long equipment lifespan and you're going to have a low life cycle cost. Okay? When you're making these decisions around hot water, solar thermal, or geothermal systems, look at the big picture. Look at the life cycle cost of it. Don't look just at that first cost. Yes, that first cost can be scary, but hopefully you're living in that house, that home for a period of time, right? And we will reap those rewards. Rick showed you on the graphs that, you know, on that pool, over the lifespan, we're going to save $35,000, right? You're going to see that. You're going to see the same thing here with the geothermal. You're going to see your low operating costs. You're going to have those savings over the lifespan.
Can I ask you a question? Michael, does Ret Screen, okay, the calculator allow you to look at that?
Yeah, Ret Screen now has ground source heat pumps systems in it, and we can do that cost analysis,
so once
right?
You know your costs, okay,
but the hard part for me is that loop cost can be all over the board, right? It's hard for me to throw out a number because Rick's place is different than Al's place, right? So someone lives in Gananoque, they're probably drilling, and that's a large loop cost. Whereas somebody else might be lucky and they have a sand bed and they're able to dig it up and quickly and efficiently, and the loop cost is low, right? So that really becomes a very independent, individualized cost, right? And that's where you bring in that qualified contractor. You can go to the Canadian Geoexchange Coalition website, and you would see who is qualified providers. The same as Rick didn't mention it, but there is a solar association as well where you can go and see. You would see that Quantum is a qualified hot water solar installer, right?
Are there any switch numbers that are qualified?
Yeah, Haven Homes is a switch member, and Haven Homes is a qualified contractor with the Canadian Geo Exchange Coalition. So if you type that in, and it's open information.
If you have a low-lying area on the land that you're building on, could you backfill?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't know. That's why it's hard. Your installation loop cost might be very low if you're already planning to backfill that low-lying area, right? So you're already spending that money for backfill, and now maybe in some cases you're actually putting 5 or 6 feet of dirt, right? I know when my years and years and years ago now, when my dad renovated the old church in Colebrook, he back to put in the septic and to maintain the grading across the property. I remember as a child, I mean, that was truckload after truckload. I think it was 8 feet high of backfill sand that went in, right? So in that case, if you were doing something like that and laying that loop down and then backfilling it, yeah, you're gonna have a little bit of cost because we're gonna be a little more careful around the pipe. You don't get to just drive the dump truck in and dump. But that installation cost could be very reasonable at that point. Rick?
I hear a lot of talk about the high efficiency air source heat pumps.
Yeah.
Do you see that those are starting to compete with the high cost of ground source?
Well, air source heat pumps have become a lot more efficient as a result of new technologies, and those technologies being variable speed compressors, variable speed fans, and better control systems on them in terms of defrosting them. And what that allows is a wider temperature operating window, for one, because now if I can slow down that outside fan, I can control it more, and I can run it at a lower operating temperature, lower outdoor air temperature than before. Before we had to shut it off and go to our backup switch on our air source heat pump at, say, 0 degrees. Now I can run down into minus 20, minus 30 degree conditions because I can vary the speed of the compressor and the fan. So that means that that coefficient of a performance, and that's how we talk about heat pump, that COP is higher, right? Is there?
Just a sec about the lower supply. Yes, it means that the fan is operating longer compared to the oil furnace.
Basically, yeah, if you were supplying the same airflow quantity, yes. Like, so.
Even you have bigger ducts?
No, if you have bigger ducts, no, you're not. That becomes a design parameter.
But on
right.
the same size?
If I had the same size ductwork and I'm pushing cooler air through it, then I would need to push that air for longer, yes. And increase my fan operating cost as a result.
What is the supply temperature?
The supply air temperature off of it is going to be more in the neighborhood of like 85 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas that gas furnace is like at 110 degrees coming out of the register.
So with your existing ducting, with much higher airflow, this would feel pretty cold.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's a higher airflow, and it's cooler. Unfortunately, it's cooler than your body temperature, so it feels cool going past you, right? So it's still heating the house because your house temperature, you're only wanting at 70, 75 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
So the retrofit cost could be substantial.
That's dependent, again, like on site conditions. There's those, in this system, there becomes big variables of those site conditions for me
More,
to discuss.
double or triple the ducting.
No, it wouldn't need to be that much larger, but it depends on the original system design and what they did with the original system design. We've all been in houses where you have a room that doesn't get enough